If you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe and become part of this community. Oh, and also, go cop that fresh merch and listen to my new album in the description. Okay, let's talk about Donda again. Kanye's album that was supposed to drop twice now after some listening parties that he did, but it never did. And we know one person who was very closely involved with this thing, who is Mike Dean. Mike Dean, for anyone who doesn't know, is one of the most legendary producers of the last decade or two even, having worked on a lot of important projects in music but also in hip-hop generally, also being very closely a work-related friend of Kanye, so very important person, also in the process of Donda, of course. And we know that he's also been cooped up with Kanye in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta, at which Kanye held his listening party now twice, and is supposed to still be working in that one room that he rented out for $1 million a day to be working on Donda, and Mike is there with him. So hearing from Mike on social media is something very exciting and very interesting, and that's exactly what happened when he took to Twitter to, post some stuff about his place in the whole Kanye Donda rollout. A lot of y'all have been talking about it on the Discord. Once again, shout out the Discord, man. That's the only reason and the only source that I had for these posts. So if you're not part of the Discord yet, go join the best hip-hop community in the world in the description. Now, let's jump straight into what Mike Dean actually posted on Twitter. So on August 14th, which was 3 days ago, he took to Twitter to say F this. And then also, at least this is what I have from the picture that we have, Mike Dean tweeted this, then deleted all posts about Donda on Instagram. So apparently this statement is somehow relating to Donda. Now a lot of people started speculating or saying like, oh, is Mike Dean fed up with Kanye not releasing the album, always delaying it, not coming through, announcing these listening parties and then not really, dropping it afterwards. And we know that, for example, Kanye was also seen on the phone while performing the album at his second listening party, and apparently he was like calling Mike and talking about some mixing issues that he just now heard in the live version and that he wanted to get fixed. So this was all really a mess in the whole rollout process of this. But of course, Mike went on to tweet some other things, which then shed more of a light on this. And the first one was a reply to someone saying, Mike Dean seems to have done all the best work on it though. This all feels toxic. It definitely isn't healthy on either part to be stuck in a stadium for weeks. This is the weirdest rollout ever. And when you first read this, you probably think the two parties being talked about here are Kanye and Mike. And it's not healthy for both sides to be stuck in this album, in this case the performer and then the producer who is like doing all the work in the background, because from what we know about Mike truly is the person that is actually in the background mixing this thing to perfection. Kanye is a really good producer, do not get me wrong, he's made some amazing stuff in his career, but it always takes Mike Dean to tweak the last little knobs to make it perfect, to get the vision that Kanye has and his ideas that he can formulate actually into good sounding, good mixed music. That is the role of Mike Dean. Without him, we wouldn't have a lot of very important, very, almost to perfection made Kanye tracks and albums in general. So Mike is always the one that has the last, is the last step in Kanye's rollout process. Mike then replied to this reply again and said, toxic, that's it. So apparently he wants to subliminally, passively shoot at Kanye. That was my first thought when I read this, because he's saying, yo, this is toxic, I don't want this anymore. And Kanye is the one just being crazy, not dropping this, always having something new that he wants to work on or, just work over on the album. But then he retweeted just some stuff on Twitter that maybe sheds another level of light on this. So there are two specific tweets that he retweeted. One of them saying he isn't suffering from Ye, he's suffering from us. And the other one saying he's pissed at the toxicity of Kanye fans begging for the album all day long in his replies. And this is also what he retweet it. So apparently he wants to, vicariously say the stuff that's been said in those, in those tweets without actually having to say it, because maybe he would lose some fans, maybe the Kanye community would be mad at him, whatever the reason might be. Maybe Kanye told him not to, specifically talk about the process of this thing and the fans or whatever, but whatever it might be, he wants to tell us that he's tired of the fans wanting the album, begging for it, and just some of them really being toxic in demanding this album. Now, I understand both sides. I understand Mike Dean, who was there doing his best, really putting in all-nighters, working on this album. The same goes for Kanye. I know they want it to be perfect. I know they're not just doing this just to challenge and be like, haha, we didn't drop the album, y'all thought. I don't think they're doing it for that reason. I think there's some bigger reason behind this. But also, I've said in the past that I just don't really like that an artist like Kanye promises this album. It lets people buy tickets to his live listening party, where he then says he's going to drop the album afterwards, and this just doesn't drop. I also get that fans are tired of this, and that fans are like, yo, stop playing with us. So I'm really torn between these two sides, but in the end, we shouldn't be begging Mike Dean for this. If anything, Kanye should get the blame for the weird rollout process for this. As I said, Mike Dean is in there doing his best work. We've seen him pull some incredible stuff on the tracks that we've already heard at the listening parties. And if this whole thing just wasn't organized well enough to, drop at the time that it drops, then that's Kanye's, or at least some project organizer's, fault. Now, maybe as my last kind of message in this video, I can only tell, Kanye fans, if you're watching this and you were there on Mike Dean's Twitter and constantly like toxically poking at him, saying like, yo, we want this album, what is happening, what's going on, it's your fault and stuff like that, just stop. Like, Mike Dean is not the one that is responsible for the delay of Donda. If anyone, then it's Kanye, but he's already gotten enough hate for the whole rollout process for this. So I guess we should just wait. We can be mad about this, but we shouldn't let it out to people that are working day and night to make this thing one of the best albums that they want it to be. So Mike Dean is fed up, but maybe if we can just, come together as Kanye fans and not, do this type of mass action again of, toxically being on his Twitter, then we can all in the end be happier and get a better album, because I don't think that that's a good, mindset with which he's now going into the creation of this thing, if he knows the fans are not even being grateful for the hard work he's putting in. That's my thoughts on this, and now I want to know what you think about this. What do you think about the fact that Mike Dean has, tweeted all this stuff referring to him being fed up with Kanye fans? Do you think it's his fault? Do you think it's Kanye's fault? What do you think we as fans can improve in our, relationship with the artist and with the producer and with the people that he's working with? Let me know in the comments down below. If you watched this video to the end and liked it, and you want to stay up to date with all current hip-hop events and releases, make sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, hit that like button, and go follow my social media and blog down in the description. It really helps me out. Until the next one, y'all have an incredible day, and y'all take care.